Hello everybody, this is Bitcoin Macro, and on this video guys I'm going to talk about Stellar. So Stellar is one of the layer 1 blockchains. It's kind of like a sister project to XRP. Many people might know that they probably have pretty much similar cycles and similar pumps because they were both founded by Jed McCaleb, or at least I should say the token of XRP was created by Jed, who was also the founder of Mt. Gox. Now, I don't have lots of good things to say about him or the project in general. I don't believe that it's a scam or a massive hit, but in my opinion, the price action right now looks very, very nice. And in my opinion, Stellar could be in for major upside from here. So the key thing that I would notice about Stellar is that it has come, or at least it did come all the way back to the initial place it started trading back in 2014. The inflation rate of Stellar has been massive since that time, so of course the price doesn't really matter as much, but what matters to me is the fact that it managed to do a full cycle versus Bitcoin, came all the way back, and it has been going sideways for a really long time. So if we see this one, for example, we do see that we are above the key resistance, finally has become support properly, and we keep on trending higher. Now I could just zoom in for a little bit on the Binance chart because the history is missing still. We can see that we have been rejected. This has been the point that has been holding the price down, but in my opinion, once that breaks, yes, maybe we could see some resistance all the way up there, but in my opinion, it's pretty much open air all the way up to 2000 satoshis. That would be the major key resistance that we get right now. The key problem I saw with Stellar in the past was it had that major distribution, and whenever we see something like it, then it takes a lot longer for accumulation to play out and to have a big pump. Maybe it has been affected a little negatively because of the XRP situation. Maybe some people might be scared that Stellar might be a security as well. But in my opinion, the price is looking very good right now. And if Jed hasn't been sued by the SEC up until now, then it's probably all right. So if I zoom in right now, we do see that there have been tons of tests of this resistance, and potentially we have started closing above this level right there. Stellar has been added on several exchanges. It was one of the first projects Bitstamp listed, or at least a year ago, because Bitstamp hadn't really listed many tokens. And one of the other things I have to make you guys aware about is the fact that Stellar started getting listed on more exchanges right after the major top. So Stellar was added on Coinbase about that time, so it was kind of late. Most other exchanges other than Bittrex and Poloniex started adding Stellar much later, USDT pairs and so on. So Stellar back then wasn't very liquid. It was just like a project. Of course, inflation has played a role in that capitulation over here, but this sideways movement is definitely something that we cannot ignore. So maybe this is our support line, because again, it's slowly forming a nice uptrend that in my opinion is kind of stronger than the previous one, and it's definitely showing nice signs of support, of resistance turning into support. And especially this point here could do very nicely. So if I look at XLMUSD, I just have to look at the Stellar chart on Binance. It's not the best one, but still it's the only USD chart I can find, because again, most other exchanges didn't have a USD pair up until 2 years ago, so it was much later than the bear market has started in 2018. So we're almost about to break the all-time highs. We're pretty close, or still not too close, but in my opinion, this is just, it doesn't really matter, because essentially once you start coming to those levels, once you break these key highs right there, when the bear market started, then it's pretty much open air all the way up there. And again, really nice capitulation, nice sideways movement at the bottom, and it has been going up slowly ever since. Again, we don't see any froth in this chart, and that's what makes me think that eventually we'll get a very, very big move to the upside. Again, it's a nice name. It's still considered relatively cheap compared to other coins by some people. It's still like, that unit bias, because it's still below $1. It might just, many people might rush into it because they think it's still cheap. Also, they do have some announcements. They tend to just, have some crazy news every now and then and do very, very well. They had them with those stable coins. They've had them before. So I would not be surprised if that does well, because again, remember guys, Stellar has that plus where Jed is selling XRP and he's potentially buying Stellar with it, okay, to pump the price. It's something that I wouldn't be surprised if he's doing. So Stellar, at least in my opinion, has a pretty big chance of doing very, very well. Now, even if XRP gets, let's say, the green light from the SEC to go back to trading, I do believe Stellar is one of those projects that could do very, very well along with it. Okay, because I do believe that if at least the battle with the SEC is settled and XRP wins and it's not deemed a security, then I do believe it would have a very, very big rally. That would be a major catalyst. Now, of course, Stellar wouldn't pump as much, but in my opinion, it would follow suit. Again, key thing is still in an uptrend, still looking good. Now, the correction with Bitcoin probably fuels altcoins even more, because that correction has come with a major catalyst. So far, Bitcoin hasn't been doing well, in my opinion, because a lot of that money is flowing into altcoins and also other assets, because Bitcoin hasn't been doing well. But now the Bitcoin has had that major correction, and that was a big wipeout towards alts as well. Although alts have been doing very, very well against Bitcoin even during the correction. So alts versus Bitcoin are pretty much at the same level they were before the correction, and that's a very, very big sign. And that's why, in my opinion, at least some coins will be ready to do very, very well. Now, some other coins to mention, for example, that have a similar structure to XLM is NANO. Okay, so NANO has had this nice pattern, nice bottom. I've mentioned this several times before, because there were many coins that kept trending lower versus Bitcoin, but they were having equal highs. And once those highs broke, we do see the results. And essentially, I do believe Stellar in a pretty similar situation as NANO. Very similar charts to an extent, at least, although Stellar was going sideways a little bit more. It had some extra strength. It didn't really have that massive capitulation like NANO did. So, of course, you could see more upside for NANO as well. Maybe it will come all the way up there too. Maybe, because again, whenever I see these kind of projects, like even like Balancer right here, where you have that nice sideways movement, the longer it goes sideways, the more likely it's going to break up, and it's going to do that decisively and with strength. So again, this is, for example, another one that potentially looks a little bit like XLM, but just in a different time frame. Okay, very, very different time frame. Balancer is a different coin, but in my opinion, because of the high fees on Ethereum, we will get back to the narrative where layer 1 protocols start rallying, and maybe along with Ethereum, maybe Ethereum rallies even more and fees double or even triple from here. But that would probably mean a lot more assets will do very, very well. Okay, now another one potentially could be Polkadot. Again, lots of tests into that resistance all the way up here. We do see it closing above the previous resistance. Not very similar with Stellar, but in my opinion, it's a good extra thing to look at. For example, especially when you're looking at resistance being tested many, many times. And that's just in a much shorter time frame, guys. The Stellar resistance has been tested a ton more than the Polkadot resistance. Clearly, Stellar has that overhead resistance because of the old supply, and Polkadot doesn't have it because it's a newer project. But in my opinion, we should be including in this resistance as well. And of course, that's since July of 2020. This has been going on for a very long time, whereas Polkadot has actually tested that resistance that I mentioned a fewer times. So overall, pretty bullish on Stellar. Very nice things, guys. And of course, on many other layer 1 protocols, I don't believe that this correction on Bitcoin has hurt the bull market. It has actually strengthened the case for altcoins, especially with the Tesla news, where they said they won't accept Bitcoin because of the greenhouse issues and all that stuff, because of the emissions. In my opinion, that's not valid. I don't really buy that story. There is a reason why mining exists. Maybe many people don't understand it. I do believe that's an attack on Bitcoin, but what can you do? Unfortunately, this will drive, at least fortunately for us, unfortunately for the future of crypto, it will mean that Bitcoin will have to take a back seat. And potentially Bitcoin could be in a little bit of a bear market and more money might flow out of it. So the best thing to do, guys, it is to bet again versus Bitcoin. Just bet on Bitcoin pairs rather than actually versus USD pairs. You can do that on Binance, you can do that on many exchanges, because again, it just dampens the volatility. You can do that either by going long the perpetual, let's say of XLM, and then short the perpetual of Bitcoin. This is one of the ways you can do it. Otherwise, you can just go on isolated margin or, other margin pairs, so that you can go long just against Bitcoin. And the reason that I've been mentioning this over and over again, guys, it's been very obvious. And that reason is the Bitcoin chart hasn't been looking that great. Okay, that has been the fact. So how do you capture the upside for altcoins if Bitcoin doesn't look great? Then you just short Bitcoin and long altcoins. And that's exactly what you're looking when you're looking at altcoin pairs. So that's it from me, guys. Please remember, like, subscribe, share, leave a comment down below. Come follow me on Twitter, TradingView, or Telegram. That's where I do most of my updates. So once again, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.